Guys, the topic of promotion relegation in Major League Soccer has come up again, this time in an interview between Deandre Yedlin, who's played both Seattle and at Newcastle, so he's lived both of it, and our Alexis Nunes. Let's take a listen to the clip.
I don't know how you do it because, obviously there's financial, stipulations there, everything like that. But if they could figure out a way to do that, I think the league would become much more competitive, for sure. I think, I just think people would take the league a bit more seriously. I mean, I don't think it's a retirement league by any means either, but obviously that's a perspective of, people over here. And so it shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? So something needs to be done so the league gets taken more seriously.
All right, guys, plenty to pick apart in that quote. Ale, let's start with you and just the beginning of it. Do you think MLS has a issue with how competitive it is?
As it pertains to promotion and relegation, I suppose that you can say that there is a lack of urgency from certain teams in saying, you know what, when a year is going sideways and you're not quite sure as to what you're going to get out of your team, you don't have that fear that, look, if we don't get going, we're going to be relegated. And how that affects decision-making in terms of what the team does regarding investment in players, regarding the conditions of the players and how they get a palpable and tangible improvement so that they can get better as the season goes on. I understand where Deandre Yedlin is coming from, that in the end, you don't have that shadow that is chasing you and that ghost of relegation chasing you and that fear and that urgency, and that you always have the playoff as a potential kind of pick me up, that maybe you haven't had the greatest season, but you sneak into the playoffs and now all of a sudden it's a successful season. And maybe you sneak into the playoffs and you go into a long run in the playoffs and now all of a sudden it's like, well, it was a great season. Well, here's the thing. And this is the part that I don't quite understand when people go crazy about promotion relegation. I'm all for promotion and relegation, but it does not exist in the cultural sports landscape in this country. It does not. It is not.
Does that mean it shouldn't?
No. Wait a minute, Seb. May I please finish the wonderful points that I'm about to make, and then you can interrupt me, okay? When we talk about promotion and relegation, we have to have a realistic expectation of what is possible and what's not. And so I'll give you an example. Do any teams in the Premier League have to pay upwards of $200 million for a franchise in order to be part of the Premier League? No. And the answer to that question is no. So right off the bat, we have a different structure as to what one league looks like and what other leagues look like. And so when people want to say, well, we want to do promotion relegation like it happens here in the Premier League. Okay, great. Guess what? There are teams in the Premier League that are 100 years old. MLS, we're talking about 25 years. So there is so much that you can peel back and so much that you have to get through in order to make sure that you have a real, and I'm talking about a real conversation about promotion and relegation. And the first thing that you have to address is the fact that culturally in this country, average Joe does not care about promotion and relegation, right? They want to go see their team play. They want to go eat their popcorn, get their hot dogs, take the kids to the game. It's enjoyable, and we're all part of Major League Soccer. The other thing that you have to address is that ownership has bought into Major League Soccer. Let me repeat that. Ownership have bought franchises into Major League Soccer, not minor league soccer. No, that's not what they bought into. And so when you're spending this sort of money, you expect a certain product to be available to you. And so until you address those issues, then all this conversation on promotion and relegation, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't do anything for me because it's not a realistic landscape and an expectation out there to make this happen anytime soon.
Herc, is MLS competitive enough?
I know where you're going with this, and I know where Yedlin is going this as well. And listen, yes, promotion relegation makes it more competitive because if you're fighting to stay up a division, That means week in, week out, you're fighting for your job. You're fighting for your livelihood of those on the playing field, of those in a boardroom, of those who work game day and within that community, because in other parts of the world, that team is part of the community. And if it gets relegated, well, everybody hurts financially. But when he says take it more seriously, I doubt there are many foreign-based players that come to Major League Soccer and even know that there is no promotion, relegation. They find out once they get here. So I think he's talking more about the players when they're here. And we've even heard Brad Friedel allude to this, how they don't take it seriously enough sometimes. They're too relaxed. Well, listen, I've been in relegation battles. There's nothing relaxed about it. You feel the pressure because they make you feel said pressure, because people in that community will let you know that their jobs or livelihoods depend on how you do every weekend, on getting those 3 points, getting that 1 point. And Ali knows, because he sees this all around the world, different teams in a relegation battle will play differently. They will scrap, they will fight, they will die for that 1 point because it means salvation. That I can relate to with when Yedlin says it is taken more seriously, it is more competitive. But I don't think people around the world or other teams around the world or other scouts, they don't care about Major League Soccer and it has promotion, relegation. To them, it's about the attention and the culture that is here in the United States and how this sport is still 4th, 5th, 6th behind other sports.
Ale, how many times have you done a game like August, September, maybe later than that with the old schedule, and you said, hey, there's nothing for these two teams to play for? Couldn't the league benefit from fewer of those games?
Yeah, but what's the trade-off, Seth? What? Okay, fine. You're making the point that there is a meaningless game in August, all right? And what's the trade-off? On doing a whole history of culture and structural sports in America? I don't. What's the realistic expectation? I don't quite understand the line of questioning. Yeah, you could do without having a meaningless game. Yes, you could. But here's the thing. You don't sacrifice a whole, and because this is a wholesome conversation, this is not just one item, a whole structure of sports. And you are wanting to bring fans onto your stadium. You want it to be inclusive rather than exclusive. And in the position that MLS right now, where they are, they're talking growth. They're talking expansion. They're talking 30 teams. That's a conversation they want to be a part of currently. And that's part of where MLS is. And that's the direction they're trending in. When you start talking about relegation, it's a completely different story. And how do you structure the league? And how do markets support a minor league team? Because that's what essentially the teams that are relegated would be, a second division. How do markets support that? Would markets get behind that? And so now you're not talking about growth anymore. Now you're talking about restructuring. And I don't think MLS is in a position where they can restructure in a way in which you sacrifice different markets across the country. You've been trying to put this umbrella over all the markets and trying to be a presence across the United States. And now you're saying to those same markets, you're saying, yeah, we got a heck of a deal for you. Now we're going to be part of the second division, and it's going to be the inaugural second division, and it's going to be great because it's going to give us promotion and relegation. No, I don't see that happening, not anytime soon. And to be honest with you, I don't see this happening in my lifetime. And I take care of myself. I eat well. I sleep 8 hours a day. So I'm hoping to stay around for a while.
I think I know Ale's answer to this question, so I'll just skip and go to Herc. Herc, do you think MLS needs promotion relegation?
I think that we should not focus on Major League Soccer here, because when we talk promotion relegation, it isn't whether Major League Soccer wants promotion or relegation. It's a governance issue. And then I don't want to get into that can of worms with what is the federation.
MLS could promote within their own teams. They don't need to open it up to anybody else.
But it's going back to what Ali says. So now you're not being inclusive. You're closing it only to Major League Soccer. That's not what promotion relegation is about.
What's the system now?
The Premier League doesn't decide on who gets the chance to be promoted. No, those are different. That's a federation. What I'm trying to tell you is and I'm all for promotion relegation, and I hope we see it in my lifetime.
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, because you're not listening. I'm all for promotion relegation, and I hope we see it in my lifetime. But how do you do it? Because as Ali said, if you erase that history, if you blow up what is this current system, do you remember what the sport was before Major League Soccer? Do you remember what you had to watch? Do you remember what you had to look forward, where this country was? If you erase that, you erase these owners who have invested $300 million in a franchise, who have bought stadiums, who have literally created communities and foundations. Now you tell them, guess what? To this time next year, this may all be worth, I don't know, 10, 15%. How do you go about that? I'm all for it. But until somebody presents an actual structure, an actual way to do it, I mean, what are we talking about?
And by the way, let's not forget, MLS right now is not the only league in the region that will no longer have a promotion
your
relegation
league, Seb,
structure.
your favorite league.
That's
I'm
right,
just
Liga
saying.
MX. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Is that a
just
good
saying.
thing, Herc? Do you think that's a good thing, Herc?
No, absolutely not.
Oh,
It's
you've
not a
been
good
crying
thing.
on Twitter about it, so it's not a good thing. So there it's a bad thing, here it's a good thing.
Tell me what I've said on Twitter about it.
Makes totally sense.
Tell me what I've said on Twitter about it.
You're talking about all these shutdowns in the Ascenso. Are you not?
No, I have not. So, what I have said is coincidentally, El Ascenso, the second division in Mexico, is no longer, and then the DAs are no longer, and Major League Soccer sprouts out their own version of academies that will have international competition. What I'm saying is coincidence? I think not. I think these two leagues are even more intertwined now than ever before, is what I'm saying. But listen, what happens with second division being gone in Mexico is plenty of people, plenty of families are now without income. What was traditionally, and we talk about tradition a lot, something that they've always had is no longer. And to me, that is sad. I am all for promotion relegation in the United States. And I hope people realize it's not about Major League Soccer. This shouldn't be a Major League Soccer issue. This should be a U.S. Soccer Federation and governance issue. That's what surprises me. When people like you say Major League Soccer should have promotion relegation, you're missing the point about promotion relegation.
How so? Promotion relegation is just an up-down. You can do that.
Because then you're not because you're still closing it off to only Major League Soccer.
Someday. You don't think that?
Why do you have to be part of Major League Soccer to be promoted within the first division of the United States? It shouldn't be. It's an issue of governance. So you can have different levels, but the ultimate goal should be Major League Soccer oversees everything. No, the federation oversees everything.
Very well. We will leave the promotion relegation debate there for now. I'm sure we'll pick it up again soon.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.